Good morning, Sunday Civics. My name's Tom Christie. Thanks for tuning in. We've kind of been developing a series on crime, and crime is always, unfortunately, reported as the person who was the most recent victim on the front page of the paper. But crime is a deep topic. And one of the things, and a lot of things relate to it, what puts a person in a criminal situation, I mean, Freud couldn't solve this, but we do have to live every day. And one of the things that came up in the last 12 to 18 months has been called bail reform. Some people call it catch and release. And I don't understand it, but it seems to be a real thing. So anyway, we called on Angelo Morinello, Assemblyman Angelo Morinello, because, well, just because he's a very responsive person, but also he's a former judge. He's an attorney. He's also a state assemblyman. He's also a parent and a grandparent and lives in the county. So he's got a broad depth of experience on the how this stuff happens and bail reform happening recently. He was there in the room when it happened. So we're kind of leaning on Assemblyman Angelo Morinello to walk us through this intelligence quest for what is bail reform, how does it impact crime? And he, this week, has suggested, hey, we need somebody that actually works the other side of the street, that works the street. So he's brought on Sheriff Mike Filicetti, who's the sheriff of Niagara County. So having said that, Angelo, bottom corner for me, how are you? Thanks for doing this.
My pleasure. Thank you. This is a series that we have started, I believe, last month or the month before. And what I would like to make clear again is that myself and my guest, who I will introduce in a moment, are not those of a frame of mind that we need to get rid of everything, okay? There's reasons behind why things had been reviewed. Most of those stem from Rikers. Most of those have ignored the standards and goals that Office of Court Administration has. Their standard and goals, and we have to report to them as a judge every single month. Misdemeanors that are languishing over 90 days and felonies which languish over 180 days. So when they talk about, yes, there was a couple people in Rikers that were forgotten about, but if they had really been following the rules of Office of Court Administration, they would have never fallen through the cracks. Mm-hmm. However, what Sheriff Filicetti and I, and it's Sheriff Michael Filicetti will be the guest, what we have done is we've addressed the issue not as we got to get rid of it all, but that we believe we've had enough time that we need to come together and let's look at it in a positive manner. Has it helped? Has it hurt? Do we need to make adjustments? And it just seems that there's been only two schools of thought. Those that push for it absolutely refuse to acknowledge that maybe it's having an impact on crime. For example, New York City alone, murders are up 38%. Shootings are up 98%. Shooting victims are up 101%. And that New York City Police have taken almost 8,000 guns off the street. So is there a correlation here? Is there a correlation between the rise in crime in all the communities? They keep trying to blame the COVID, but is it COVID? I think we need to move quickly with a broad-based analysis, not something that we vote on and then do it 5 years down the road, because in the meantime, victims are being impacted. Right. Communities are in disarray. So with that, I'm going to introduce Sheriff Michael Filicetti, who is well-versed in the issue, as you have said. He understands both sides of the equation, but he lives it every single day with his police department. I'm sorry, his Niagara County Sheriff's deputies. And with that being said, Sheriff Michael Filicetti, thank you for assisting us this morning.
Good morning. Thanks for having me on.
Hey, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
What does this mean? Catch and release or bail reform? Here's my thing. Maybe somebody robbed a store, right? And they took bread out of CVS. You arrest them, you take them down, you do some paperwork, you let them go. If you let them go that quickly, there's almost no cooling off period. Like maybe now I'm pissed off that the cash register person who's making $11 an hour blew me in. Well, they blew you in because it's your job and you walked out with bread. Well, now there's a tension that didn't exist maybe if you had a 3 or 4 day cooling off period type of thing. So anyway, it just seems illogical from the get-go. But sorry to interrupt. What happens in your world?
Well, no, thank you. I appreciate your sentiment because we feel that every day. I want to echo something that the judge mentioned is, we're not against bail reform. I've never said I'm against bail reform, but I think it went way too far. And, for example, if you have somebody that commits a minor crime and they sit in my jail for 3 weeks on $100 bail, part of the argument for bail reform was, it's not fair financially if you don't have the means to get yourself out of jail. So I would say, yeah, in those situations, we need to look at those cases and say, why is somebody sitting in the Niagara County Jail on $100 bail for a minor crime? I think those situations need to be addressed, but it went way too far, and we started itemizing crimes and what crimes are going to be bailable offenses and what crimes are not going to be bailable offenses, and you can hold them under these circumstances. And if it's a petty larceny, you might be able to hold them because they have a failure to appear, a history of failure to appear. So the whole thing is very convoluted, and we get hung up on what we can set bail on, what we cannot set bail on, and it creates almost a catch and release system for us. And even when bail is set on somebody that's eligible, bail is set so ridiculously low that people are getting out. So it really, because there's a piece of this law that people don't talk about, and that's where I'm going with this, is even when you can set bail on somebody, judges are instructed to use the least restrictive method to hold them, meaning the lowest amount of bail possible. And if you feel that they're going to show up, then you should not set bail. So that makes it very, very difficult.
Mhm.
So I think that we need to look at this and say, what do we need to change in bail reform? So what I say we need to change in bail reform is give judges back discretion. They need to consider flight risk, and they also need to consider public safety, because those are two things that are not considered right now. The only thing they look at is will the person show up? If they will show up, or if there's no specific reason they believe that they won't show up, then bail is either set ridiculously low or not set at all, even on bailable offenses.
Most of us are not in your world. So I don't know the types of people that get arrested anymore or are filling your prison. Are we in Dickensian times that people are stealing a loaf of bread and then being held in jail against their will, like a debtor's prison? Is this Charles Dickens times, or is it just repeat offenders who are being just, obstinate about stuff and bad actors?
It's a small number of people in our society that are committing other crimes. I could tell you of the 210,000 plus residents in Niagara County, it's a very small percentage. It's not all of them out there committing the crimes. And specifically when it comes to violent crime, it's even a smaller percentage. When you look at the city of Niagara Falls, where we've had a trend up in violent crime, our hands get tied because we continue to loosen laws, and criminals feel emboldened when they know they can go out and do things and they're not going to get held accountable. We need to take some of these people out of play and get them off the street. We need help, which is part of the reason we go to the Fed. We use our federal partners, because those judges at the federal level can consider public safety and flight risk. And when you get caught with a loaded illegal handgun, you're going to sit in a jail somewhere until your case is heard, which, we need to send a loud and clear message. And unfortunately, at the state level, in our majority, they're not sending that message. They passed a $138 million criminal justice reform bill. There's not a penny in there for hotspot policing. There's no message of accountability. It's all about, and I'm not against, what it's about, jobs and intervention programs and things like that. But there's nothing in there that says, hold these guys accountable, get them off the street. We're going to give you some funding to help with hotspot policing.
What's hotspot policing?
So you look at your areas of, we use Niagara Falls as an example. You look at Niagara Falls and you say, where are the majority of our violent crimes happening? Where are shootings happening? And you target those areas, which we have our Intel Center in Niagara Falls, which does that. And we would get extra funding to basically saturate those areas like we've done on our own in order to bring those people to justice and hold them accountable. It's very, very difficult when at the state level, they keep taking our tools out of our toolbox. And then they look at us and say, well, why aren't you guys keeping the streets safe? I know we're talking about bail reform, but we talk about discovery, which is severely restricted our ability to do our jobs. We talk about less is more, that's letting parolees out on the street. And the kind of the cumulative effect of all of that is very, very struggle. It makes it a struggle to get our job done. When I'm releasing people out of my jail because they can't be held on parole, I had an individual, I can tell you a few of them that were let out. He had 36 arrests, and he's being held in here on a pretty serious crime. So, he gets let out on hardly any bail at all because there was a belief that he was going to get held on parole.
Who does that help? Who, and maybe Angela, this is you. Who does it help to let a guy who's got 36, crimes recent? Who does it help?
Well,
to let him go?
The judge said it before. This is everything that's been done is to benefit Rikers Island. So if you look at bail reform, if you look at less is more, this is all an effort to empty out Rikers Island because of the problems. When you have Rikers Island, where you have inmates taking over housing areas and deciding who gets in and out of those housing areas, or trying to steal a bus with inmates on it, an inmate stole a bus with inmates on it and crashed into a wall twice. It's just chaos in Rikers Island. So instead of fixing Rikers Island and helping the correction officers that work behind the walls there, their answer is to let everybody out. And at the same time, they can't just do it for there, so they do it for the entire state. So we all get to reap the benefits of this terrible legislation.
Sheriff, before I ask Angela, hold on, Angela, 1 second. Yeah, I think there's 57 sheriffs, right? The 5 boroughs in New York don't have sheriffs, but everyone else does. Is there any place that has said this is the best thing since sliced bread? I mean, you talk, you're kind of probably Sheriff's Association and all that stuff.
Right.
It's universally what you're telling us, right? That's the feeling.
Oh, no, there's nobody in favor of any of this.
Plattsburgh isn't saying this is great.
No, because it's affecting every community across the state.
Yeah. Assemblyman.
Yeah, what I wanted to add on that, Tom, is there has been proposals for neighborhood jails, in other words, more precincts, especially in the New York City area, eliminating Rikers. And the trend and it's really funny because there is a split among the majority, and there's a battle going on with the majority in Albany as to the ultra progressives versus the more moderates. And it's like no jails for anybody, just release them on the street because they haven't been convicted yet. Well, when a judicial discretion, now that there has been some changes given judges discretion on certain crimes, but they've actually taken away judicial discretion. And what I say is this: if you have a judge that's abusing the system, a bad judge, get rid of him. Do not paint every judge with the same brush. Do not paint every police officer. Do not paint every sheriff with the same brush. They have an obligation. Now, they're talking about reforms. So you've got defund the police. Let's send mental health experts to explosive situations, okay? They're not trained in the safety of the community. So you've got dialogue that just does not comport to what the actual facts are. Now, as the sheriff said, the 3 major legislative changes are bail reform, criminal justice, and discovery. Discovery reform, you realize that grand jury minutes are confidential because they don't want witnesses targeted. Well, you now must release the grand jury testimony with the names of the witnesses and their addresses to defense. There was a murder in Niagara Falls, thinking about 3 months ago. And the suspicion is, well, they know that person testified in a grand jury proceeding, and that name was released. And within a couple of weeks, I believe, Sheriff, he was murdered on Niagara Street in Niagara Falls. So they're saying reports are down. Well, if you know you're going to get targeted, if you know as a complainant your name's going to get out there, you're not going to report a crime. So is the
Who thought this was a good idea? Who in their right mind thought that was a good idea?
Well, there's a number of progressives out of the New York City area.
So in the 5, so we got 57 sheriffs who are saying this doesn't make sense. In the 5 boroughs, the people that thought this was good, are they at least going, I screwed up, this wasn't good? I mean, is there
Well-
any self-reflection in the 5 boroughs, or can we just make New York City different than the 57 counties? But anyway, go ahead.
Well, I have not talked to everyone, but I've heard reports of ministers who are for criminal justice getting together and saying, wait a minute, this has gone too far. Okay. Our people are getting hurt. Our innocent people are getting hurt, but it's falling on deaf ears. So that's why the sheriff and I have discussed the need for an expedited analysis to see if we have to adjust. In the bail reform alone, in the first draft, they did not take into consideration domestic violence calls, the cooling off period, as you stated. Many times, the abuser would be home before the victim had time to seek safety. There was some adjustments, but not to the degree needed to protect a victim in a domestic violence matter. There are other areas that are just left wide open that do not take into consideration safety. If we could cut out the 5 boroughs, Tom, we would. There's bills to divide the state into 3 districts. And every problem that New York City has had, they want to pass legislation that forces the rest of the state to comport to the problems that don't exist, that some of the changes create. So
But it was, the way we used to always do that was you say in cities of 1 million or more, because there's not even close to other cities in New York. You know, we didn't have to create a separate state or 3 different states out of it, but you just said in cities of 1 million or more, we will, do X. I mean, why wasn't that put in there? Because New York's different from Niagara County.
Well, I'm going to make a statement, and I don't want you to think I'm trying to politicize this, but when you have one party control in 3 branches of government, and within that one party control, you have activists that have been elected from their districts because of changing demographics, and they seem to control the narrative. And I'm going to use the word minority. When I use minority, I don't mean the typical minority. I mean the smaller number and a greater number. Okay, so if you have 100, you have 150 legislators. Okay, of the 150 legislators, I believe we're at 47 or 48 Republicans. So if you take the Democratic side, the smaller number have the louder voice, and the larger numbers seem to give in. So what you have is, but it doesn't matter because there's no checks and balances anymore. There's only one voice. So that creates, if you go through and you look at all of the debates on the floor dealing with bail reform, you'll see that even some of the majority members had some concerns, but it doesn't matter because it's the majority of the majority that controls.
Sheriff, when this all comes down, Albany, the assemblyman can't hear me right now. Albany can move slowly sometimes. So what do you have at your disposal, like, to do the job that we want you to do? Like, we don't want you to follow the state law. You kind of have to. Do you have any leverage? If you arrest me and don't let me go because it's not safe and you kind of violate it, can I sue you for $10 million and retire? Like, what are you up against legally and morally and ethically? Can you just say, I'm keeping Niagara Falls safe, Niagara County safe, no matter what? I don't care what Angelo says. No, not Angelo. The assembly.
Well, I do care what the judge says, but
Albany. What Albany says.
Here's the deal. A lot of people will say, we want you to be a constitutional sheriff, and you kind of set the law of the land. That's really a fallacy. Yeah, I'm in the Constitution, but I still have to follow what's put out in state law. I can't decide, just say, you know what, I'm tired of the nonsense. We're going to just hold this person. I don't care what anybody says. I can't do that. I would be sued if I did that. There's times I would like to hold people here because I know what's going to happen. But I've released, I could tell you, since July 1st of 2020 through July of 21, just a small sample here, I've released people that were brought in on bailable offenses, and I've released them back out with 0 bail. 25 people on felony assaults. Now, this is just the county jail. This does not include people that were released same day out of Niagara Falls Court, North Tonawanda, Lockport. 6 people on sex crimes, 32 people on burglaries. right back out the door. They came in and went right back out. 19 on felony criminal mischief. We let an arsonist out. Hang on, I've got a lot of pages here. I've let several people out, 76 people out on felony larcenies, 5 on robbery with no bail mechanism set, 2 on felony theft, a couple on felony forgeries, felony criminal contempt, 12. So you start looking, felony possession of drugs, 42 people. So you start looking at the cumulative effect of this, along with discovery, along with, less is more that I mentioned, which is really is tied parole officers' hands. I think it was a little over 3 weeks ago, I watched 7 inmates walk out the front door here, and I'll just give you a few of these, Tom. One individual had 21 arrests, including 8 felonies, 2 violent felonies, 11 criminal convictions, including 4 felonies, and he was released on $250 bail for criminal possession of narcotics. Another guy had 20 arrests, including 8 felonies, 5 violent felonies, 14 criminal convictions, including 3 felonies and 1 violent felony. He got out on $10 bail on criminal obstruction of breathing, a domestic violence case. Now, if that does not upset people, I don't know what will. That means he strangled somebody and then got out on $10 bail. And what they did that day was the state came in and said, we're releasing all these people, which gave the district attorney 0 time to do bail hearings, to get the bail raised up that were set low on these individuals. They did it on purpose so that these people could walk out the front door, which is sad.
I mean, you're describing a situation. I know you're telling the truth, that I can't believe you're not lying to me. This can't be happening. And so we can't wait 5 more years to give you back the tools you need to make me safe. I don't want to wait 5 more minutes. So what do I do? What can people do? What can I do?
You know what I've said is because I put stuff out on discovery and bail reform and less is more, because I want people to know, and people are just shocked. Like, wait a minute, what are you talking about?
I'm shocked.
I tell people, if you have relatives in other parts of the state, because where we're at, we have Judge Morinello as our assemblyman, we have Mike Norris, we have Senator Rob Ward, who are all pushing back against this. It's other parts of the state. So I tell people, take this information and share it with your relatives that live in downstate, the east part of the state, and get that word out so that they start kind of seeing how destructive this is if they're not already seeing it in their own communities.
Yeah. But, this is like, when a hurricane comes through, we have instant, assistance. This seems to be a criminal hurricane that's blown through. I can't wait to talk to a relative downstate and negotiate with them, and hopefully over Thanksgiving. No, I can't we get something faster?
Tom,
and we can't. And I know we can't, but
Tom, let me jump in, okay? I've said this the last time, and I'm going to say it again, and you want to know what you can do to help. What you can do is actually, once you digest what has been said in the previous show and in this show, you can support a need to immediately put together a commission, not a partisan commission, to just look at the facts and then make recommendations. I'm tired of hearing, well, this is all because of poverty or COVID, okay? That's not what it is, all right? These were the issues and the atrocities that are claimed happened long before COVID, okay? Mm-hmm. The poverty part, yeah, they're throwing money, but they're not really throwing the money in a way that is progressive. It just sounds good, but it's not productive. Let's take re-entry into the community. Let's go a different route on this, from prisons, okay? Yes, we need to assist them. So what does Albany do? They make announcements of, we're going to throw money at different organizations, but there's zero accountability. What we need to do is focus that on maybe some educational institutions, trades, use the money to give some dormitory style training so that they don't get, $10 in a bus ride and they have nowhere to go. Let's really be smarter in how we do this and not just look for headlines. But that's the problem we've been facing, is they're looking for headlines. So you could help tremendously by just advocating it's here. we shouldn't talk about repeal 100%, nor should we talk about leave it alone. It should be, let's look at it. We do that with cancer. We do that with other illnesses. This is an illness on society.
Is there a group right now that is looking at it or that, wants to do this? Because we could have them on next, because I'd love to begin talking to them. Is there such a group?
The only group I know would be law enforcement groups. I know of no non-law enforcement group or non-district attorney group, okay, that is looking at it, because the other groups are the ones that want it, the majority of them. And like I've said, I have tried. I have done a op-ed on the need to analyze it. We've got enough time. One of the pushbacks is we need more years. We don't have enough time to look at it, okay? How many more people are going to be killed?
Right. I was just going to say, a domestic violence person does not need more years of research. You have to stop that, immediately. Yeah. Well, Sheriff.
Let me tell you, Tom, let me tell you one other thing that absolutely makes no sense. Burglary was a bailable offense. So now what they did as part of this, if you're home, it's a bailable offense. If you happen not to be home and your home is burglarized and it's trashed and you are personally invaded your personal space, it's a non-bailable offense because you weren't in the house, and the potential of you being injured, harmed, or killed doesn't exist. Where is the logic in that? Yeah. Burglary is burglary. It's the intent to break into somewhere that you are not the owner of and take something of somebody else. So right. Whether you're there or not, but they even went that far in this reform to delineate little changes like that fell on silent ears.
Guys, we're already out of time. I apologize. How do we take this next? Maybe we need to do this again next week, but I would love to actually if there isn't such a group, I'd like to start one that we have these discussions with somebody else, a sheriff from Chemung County, or this needs fixing.
I can tell you, Tom, that the State Sheriff's Association has pushed to try to have this conversation. And again, like the judge said, it falls on deaf ears. One thing I would tell you to look at is in the criminal justice reform that was passed or signed by our last governor, that very group that you're talking about was supposed to be formed to review laws and look at these legislations and make recommendations to laws like bail reform. And I have seen nothing, and I don't know if the judge is, but where is that piece of this that goes with all the money?
Right.
There has been none. Maybe the head of the Sheriff's Association. Okay?
Well, you know what I like for things, or I would like for things to start right with us, like why don't we do that out of Niagara County? Why don't we lead the whole state towards this discussion? I always have big ideas and maybe we can't do that, but let's do that. If nobody's doing it, let's do it ourselves.
And Tom, I want to make clear again, okay, people that are listening or they talk about it, we are not talking about complete elimination. We're talking about a discussion, the need for a discussion, and it can't be me versus you. It's got to be, let's come together and determine if it has to be massaged and modified, because all laws have been, it doesn't matter what law. This is one of those, we have to pass it before we can read it. So the headline does not reflect what is contained.
But we have to personalize this too. Domestic violence is horrible offense. And it probably doesn't happen the first time they even report it. So they finally get enough courage to report. And, the police that show up have to say, thank you for reporting it. But now we're telling, the domestic violence abuser your name, your address, what you said. And by the way, they're already out. This cannot happen.
Yeah. Sheriff, what about a domestic violence advocate? Do you think an advocate would be willing to come on and talk in general about what they face with these on domestic violence and why it needs to be tightened up? That may be, Tom, I'm thinking maybe we need to get segments of how that segment is affected.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, we have our own domestic violence victims assistant unit here in the sheriff's office.
Yeah.
I know that one of them will be very, very pleased to be on here and let you know what they're up against as well.
Fantastic. Guys, I really do have to go. I'm sorry. I love talking to you guys. Thank you so much. Sheriff Mike Filsetti, I was adding an extra syllable now. I was saying Filisetti, but it's Filsetti, right?
Filsetti, you have it. You have it right.
Filisetti. Oh, okay. I had it right. It's
Yeah, you're good.
Morinello. Thank you as always. And we'll put that together then. I think that's the next step is to put it with more people that are working in this industry, so to speak, not industry, but profession. And help us, because again, all of us are smarter than any of us. They do this daily. They need it stopped. We can't wait, I don't think.
No,
But anyway, thank you guys.
Okay, thank you.
Have a great Sunday. Go Bills, go Bears, whoever. Thanks, guys.
Bye-bye.
All right, nice to meet you, Sheriff.
Nice to meet you.
Okay, let's get rid of those guys from our screen. All right, that was fantastic and too short. Not fantastic's a bad word to talk about domestic violence, and bail reform and catch and release and crime. Fantastic's not a good word. It was educational. And I think we need to do something else about it too in the educational realm. Okay, let's end that, catch my breath, and let's go to the election, because civics is not politics. It is not the election. However, Tuesday's election day. People are already voting all over the place in early voting, absentee voting. So we're not too far ahead of ourselves to talk about the election coming up on Tuesday. It's like finals. It's like cramming. You've been following the election for months. Just take it over the goal line. Go to vote somehow on Tuesday, and then we can enjoy the holidays. But go vote if you can. One of the things that's always forgettable when we talk about voting is that on the flip side of your ballot, or when we used to vote in a machine, way down in the right-hand corner, are state ballot initiatives. And there's 5 of them this year. I think 5's probably the limit you can put it on a piece of paper. So there's 5 ballot initiatives this week, and there's no way for us to cover them thoroughly or even bring on any expert of pro and con for what the initiatives are. But I did want to highlight that there is a backside to your ballot. There are 5 initiatives, and just be aware. Go read online. There's great places to go read what those are, but they're very important. Now, we're going to bring on my favorite nobody from nowhere, because we should talk to people who don't really know this expertly, because since we can't find experts on both topics, let's just talk to a voter. So we're going to bring in Mike Reed, who is a dedicated voter and not a dedicated, I read everything in the world about every ballot issue. Like all of us, you go into the booth, you hope you know what's going on, but you don't. So I thought Mike and I would just cover each one of the 5 ballot propositions. Now, in California, we would normally see Proposition X, Proposition 87, Proposition this and that. California is famous for that. This is New York's equivalent. You get a proposition on the ballot by going through the state legislature. It can take 2 to 4 years just to appear on a ballot, because it takes 2 successive legislatures. A legislature is seated for 2 years. One must pass it. The next must pass it. Then it goes on the ballot. So all 5, it's kind of like, Haley's Comet comes around, right? This took a long time to get on the ballot. This was no knee-jerk reaction, and this is our equivalent. So anyway, Mike, hey, welcome.
Good morning.
You're never allowed on the show. You do all this show cannot happen without Mike, and he is never allowed to be a public figure. So this is a rare opportunity for us to grill Mike.
There you go.
Hey, we have 5 propositions. What do you know about the first one? Can you read the first one for us?
I'll put it up.
Okay, put the first one up on the screen.
Okay, so yeah, I tried to look at these, and it's not a bad idea to review them, because it's like, why?
Right.
I read through this thing, and it's such a garbled mess of legal terms. We should have kept Angelo on to try to. But what is this about?
So my reading of this, and again, this is go to the Board of Elections. We always rag on the Board of Elections. Why not? It's like a comic joke, right? But they do great work, and these 5 propositions have pros and cons and are worded perfectly. So go research this. But Mike, my quick analysis of these things is this proposal number 1 is about redistricting. So if you don't know, that redistricting happens every 10 years because the population changes. So Angelo Morinello's district has to be equivalent population-wise to the other 149 districts. If we didn't do that, and since 1900 to today, Angelo Morinello might represent 20,000 people, and somebody in Brooklyn might represent 1 million people. Not fair. So every 10 years, they reshuffle the deck, they Yahtzee, and they throw the dice back on the table, and Angelo picks up a town or a city that he didn't have before, and for the next 10 years, he has a new district. This is what happens. So, Mike, with that preface, redistricting is also highly political because Angelo might not want this town. He might want this town. So they carve up districts, and we've all seen how they go. It's a little snake district. It goes along Lake Ontario and back into Niagara Falls and into Rochester in the middle. It's highly political. One of the things in the redistricting proposal number 1 is every year for the last 30 years, every redistricting for the last 30 years, they have 40 years, I think, they've simply created a new Senate district. So we used to have 59, we had 60. We used to have 60, they made 61. Now, every Senate district costs us, probably $250,000 to $500,000 to have a senator, have staff, So anyway, this caps it at 63. No more creating a new Senate district. Probably a good thing. Other than that, Mike, I'm not sure I could articulate in our time here today what else it really does. There's bullet points, go find it, but it's an important codicil of how they handle redistricting at the state level. They're putting this in the state constitution as opposed to just, flying by the seat of their pants. All right, let's go on to number 2.
Okay, number 2. Hang on, this one's huge.
This one is simple and difficult. It merely says, these are the only words on the ballot. Each person shall have a right to clean air and water and a healthful environment. Yeah, who could argue with that?
Although I always worry about it in legal terms when it's too simple.
Therein lies the other argument, Mike. Who the hell's going to enforce this? You could bring up your landlord and say, you don't take out the garbage every day, so I don't have a healthy environment.
Yeah.
Now, however, you could have lead in your pipes and be dying. There is no coming back from lead in your pipes. It affects your brain, and there's no cure.
Oh, it definitely needs to be fixed.
So, right. This is a very strange, you need to go read up on this because I don't know. It's either good or bad.
You can't really disagree with, on the face of it, it's like you should have a healthful environment. You should have clean air. And we kind of do that in the state. I think we're pretty good about that. Right. Trying to make sure that the environment is taken care of, better than most places. So, but yeah, that's just unusual. Good, not a bad, I just wonder, is there I don't know what the downside would be. Yeah.
Right. So go read up on that because it's obviously very important. And there's 5 ballot initiatives. If you don't know, you don't have to vote for all 5. I mean, that's a tough one. I don't know what I'm going to do on that one because I certainly believe I deserve clean air and water.
Yeah.
Seems too simple. All right. Number 3 and 4 are kind of together here. So I'll explain 3 and 4 to you, Mike, quickly as I can. But 3 is, we had this with COVID. Right now, you have to go to an election booth to vote. That was always the rule. I am a healthy person. I must go. If I'm not healthy, I'm sick, I'm old, I can't get out to vote, there's an absentee ballot process. But I must actually have a reason to use that I am sick, that I'm out of town. I'll be in California on election day, so I need a ballot. You had to come up with a reason, and you didn't want to lie. And so there were restrictions to absentee ballot. Anyway, during COVID, everybody got to vote by mail that 1 year. Voting went up 5 times the increase in voting. I'm kind of a 100% voter person. I know other people are like, no, some people are too stupid to vote. I don't know. This number 3 allows you to vote by absentee ballot with no excuse. You just can say, send me one. I like that. I like that personally. I want to vote at home. I want Amazon to deliver all my packages. I am lazy as screw, as anything. I just want to vote. I want to vote for sure. And I might forget on Tuesday. I never forget, but I don't know. I'm going to early vote today during the Bills game. I don't want to. I want to watch the Bills game, but I won't be around Tuesday. So anyway, I could have mailed in a ballot a week ago and I didn't have the chance. So I want to. What do you feel about that, Mike?
Well, that one, this one's interesting because all the complaints about it, I like it because you have to apply for it. So it's only I get my ballot through the mail. Like if it's the reason is I want it. I think the limit in the past might have been just for administrative purposes. They didn't want to have to deal with all the paperwork, but it's still one person, one vote. There's no, like I can't get 2 votes out of it. There's things in place to stop that. I have not been able to find a single downside to this one. I just think, why not? People, you're like you said, you're busy, or you work days or you work nights and you're sleeping during the day and you just can't get out. There's all kinds of things. I just think that it's a great idea,
Yeah.
and I don't understand the complaints.
The flip side of that is the other ballot proposal there, number 4, is same day registration. So in New York, I think you have 30 days before the election, like October 3rd or October. It's even 10 days maybe. But anyway, there is a cutoff. If you haven't registered to vote, that's it. And I always thought, I don't necessarily like that, but how the heck is the Board of Elections going to get everybody's records already? Like when I go to vote and when you go to vote, I sign a book and they must have to print that book and it's got like 100 pages in it. There seems to be some maintenance to this stuff. I don't understand what'll happen if I can register to vote like when I go. So Tuesday, I wake up, oh my God, I want to vote. And oh my God, I'm not registered. I go down, I can register and vote at the same time. Seems tough administratively, but I don't know.
Yeah, I see it as an administration problem, and that one would be an easy way. Like if you're going to cheat, that would be the way to do it. Because
oh right, how do they know my cousin from Baltimore isn't here on? Like, what do I need to register? When I registered to vote, I don't think I do much other than sign my name and mail in a form. I mean,
yeah,
I don't know.
But I think there's ways that they check it afterwards. But then they're going to have to go through the 10-day checking process. Does that mean the election gets held for 10 days because all these people registered to vote? I mean, I love the idea. The more people voting, the better. I'm 100% voting. I think it's pathetic that less than 50% vote in a presidential election. I just, so I want people to register to vote, but I think you need to give the Board of Elections a little bit of a time frame to do their work.
And people are in fantasy football leagues, right? People are, they have a Wegmans Shoppers Club card. People think ahead to join a league. You can think ahead to vote. I mean, I don't know about the immediacy of this as a turnout thing, as a wanting everyone to vote. If you can't think of it 10 days ahead, maybe you shouldn't be allowed to vote. I don't know.
Yeah.
So that's what that is, though. Instant voting. I don't know. It's not like instant coffee.
No.
But I don't know.
And seriously, instant coffee's not great either.
I'm not a coffee drinker, obviously. The 5th one, let's spend less than 30 seconds on the 5th one. It is civil court claims limit. So apparently there's something like civil court handles things up to $25,000. If it's above $25,000, it goes to state Supreme Court. State Supreme Court, I don't know all my courts, but they handle like everything. It's like the bottom of the sewer drain for courts. Everything goes to the state Supreme Court. So they want to alleviate some of the problems with state Supreme Court backlog of stuff because the limit's just too low. They want to make it 50,000. So I don't know. If lawyers think that's a good idea, so be it.
Yeah, everything's more expensive. As years go on, things get more pricey. It's just the limit should change. Although this is only for New York City, I would think they'd want to do it everywhere.
Right. Why do I even have a vote? Why? I mean, literally, why does somebody in Buffalo or Tonawanda have the right to tell New York City what to do on their court system? This seems flawed from the get-go. I may not vote on this because I don't live there and I don't know. I don't know.
Not my business.
Right. All right. Well, Mike, we didn't have a chance to really cover, any intelligence here.
No,
But
that's why you had me.
But that's what we do. Right. All right. Well, thank you so much, Mike. If you could get rid of that, get rid of yourself. We have one more topic to cover today, which is election related, because in New York, forever you could be a write-in candidate. This is not a new thing. It happens. There's codicils in the law to allow it to happen. It is not a strange thing on the universe. Locally, we're blessed with two amazing examples of write-in ballots, at least two, but there's two that are very noticeable. And one was the mayor of Buffalo. The guy, after 16 years and having $1 million in his campaign account, lost the primary to a nobody from nowhere. And I don't mean that, but India Walton beat Byron Brown in the primary. How? Holy cow. We'll write about that for 100 years because she was not a known figure. I never heard her name mentioned on the Buffalo News or 2, 4, and 7. She did it completely without any quote unquote traditional support. Good for her. But Buffalo has now embraced the write-in candidacy model, and Byron Brown is writing in, or running a campaign to write in. More power to you. That's how the system works. Niagara Falls has the same situation going on. And what happens in a municipality kind of shows you the character of the municipality. So Buffalo didn't skip a beat. I'm running a write-in. Everybody jumped up and made sure that that was possible. Niagara Falls will bring in John Restaino now. John Restaino announced he was going to run for city council as a write-in candidate. Fast forward about 72 hours, and people printed dog signs. Vote for my dog. They did not take, my point is, they did not take this respectfully, seriously, in any way, shape, and form. And I'm pretty sure that the mayor of an upstate city with 48,000 residents, and that we pay the salary of $76,000 a year to, and has a budget of $100 million, the mayor put one of these dog signs on his lawn. I hope they regret this. Personally, I hope they're waking up tomorrow saying, I'm better than this. But anyway, that's my point, is that there's a process to all this stuff. And it's kind of, to me, a little bit off-putting that Niagara Falls didn't take it more seriously. But the guy that put his name out there to run is John Restaino, who appeared on my screen. John, welcome.
Hey, Tom. Thank you.
What did I get right or wrong there? And what have you seen? You're the guy.
Well, the only thing is, on my show on Monday, I have one of the other write-in candidates for mayor, Jazz Miles in Buffalo. Yeah. So there's like 3 of them, and they all get to debate. They all got to debate. So
the news media had a televised debate. They put 4 people on the stage. Only one was on the ballot. 3 were write-ins. That's what happens in other places. What happened in your city?
Well, here I wasn't able to be on the debate stage. They wouldn't let me. But also, our debate was run by the 2 failed parties. The Democrats and Republicans ran the debate. They kept me out. Although one of the candidates of the 6 he's an independent himself too. So he's not a Democrat or Republican, but they let him do it. He was okay because he's on the ballot, whatever. So I couldn't do that. The Niagara Gazette has been horrible. I mean, they've been unbelievable. They wrote some horrible things in the paper. So I reached out many times to them, Matt Winterhalter and Joe Jenko, and nothing. Matt Winterhalter kept saying, "Can you send me a copy of your announcement?" I sent it twice. Never a reply, never a response. Joe Jenko, I sent him an email, no reply, nothing. Calls, no answer or a response. So they're in on the whole thing. The Buffalo News was good to me. They at least put me in with the other 6. And then of course the dog thing came up, and it's silliness. But then, like you said, I was looking. It's one of the things I've been saying. We got a 28% poverty rate here in Niagara Falls. The countrywide, it's 11%. So we're that far over. We're like 6th in the country if you look at the list of worst, more poorest cities. And that's what that's what the city council chairman's doing. He is making signs right in this dog, just maybe it mixes things up for me, I guess, just so that people are, making a big joke of everything. So yeah, I hope they do feel that, I don't know, there should be more things to do than jokes.
The president of the city council of city of 48,000 people and the mayor of a city of 48,000 people treated the process like that.
Yeah.
I mean, I really don't care which candidate wins on Tuesday or whenever we find out the results. I don't care. But the process is sort of sacrosanct. It's America. It's the way we do things. And if people ever wonder, I believe, and we're only focused, me, on the Civics project on Niagara Falls so that we can focus on how things happen in one municipality. And Niagara Falls is such an international brand. Well, this is what happened in Niagara Falls, New York. Buffalo, I don't want to care about, but they handled it with dignity and professionalism, and they're doing a job. They're doing the job that is there. Niagara Falls, I'm sorry, John. This is an embarrassment. I don't want to even say that. I know these people. I know the council president. What the heck?
Yeah. I don't know why they wanted to make I don't know. I couldn't tell you. I know, though, I don't have a good relationship with both parties. So I know that's probably a problem all in here. I can't explain it. I mean, it gets started and he's the guy. I mean, he's the guy, the council chairman who bought them. Mm-hmm. He's paid for those signs. He paid for that to happen. So, I mean, yeah, it's an embarrassment. And maybe that's why we're not taken seriously. I mean, it's just, it's ridiculous. And,
I don't live there, but you live there. Most of us do not live there, but you live there. And let me just say to you, a resident, I feel bad for you, the way this city handled it. I really do. Not you as a resident, not you as a candidate, not you as anything else. When the grass doesn't get cut, when the snow doesn't get plowed, these are all in the same basket of bad things to outsiders. We don't understand why your grass doesn't cut. We don't. Cut it. I don't understand why your snow doesn't get plowed. Cut it. Or just plow it. So when somebody runs for office, do what you have to do. Do what you have to do.
Yeah, no, they won't look into it. I mean, I know, like with the grass cutting, the plowing, for me, it's the fact that we start our people at DPW at $13.50 an hour.
Right.
And if you have a CDL license, you're getting paid only $20. You're not going to get the people. They can't even hire people down there. They can't even. And that was always a job. It was a good job, And now, if you work there and you go into work at DPW to start, you're going to have a second job because you're never going to make it at $13.50, $14 an hour. You'll have to work two jobs, or they better hand out social services applications with the application to work for the city and DPW. So that's a problem. No one wants to do it. There's no one there. I don't know, Tom. As I look at the other candidates too, they're falling over themselves to say one or two catchphrases, and no one still has the 9-point plan that I have put forward. I wasn't allowed to ever say it in the local newspaper. And I couldn't get on the debate stage. So it's been an uphill battle. And I knew it would be anyways, being a write-in. We know that. It's more sometimes for awareness.
Yeah.
But it just, there was no reason for this. There was absolutely no reason. The Democrats and Republicans, Tom, I mean, this is just me. I know this is just me talking from being in Niagara Falls and a resident. They have failed us over and over. I mean, there comes a point where you got to stop rewarding that failure. And the 28% poverty, they own it. The grass not being cut, they own it. NFR, they own them. They own 140 acres. They own it all. So at some point, I hope people in my city wake up and realize, what the hell's the difference? You might as well elect me.
Yeah.
What the hell is the difference when you keep on rewarding those failures? And hopefully that's what happens.
Now, since you announced and since you've been running, what are you hearing from people? Are you hearing what you just said? Like, God darn it, I want better. I deserve better. Are you getting good feedback, or are people not passionate?
Good feedback. Yes, I've gotten a lot, and it's been kind of, sometimes it feels even humbling, and it's nice. I mean, you do get good feedback, and a lot of people have supported me that I was shocked. Like I didn't even know. Some people I never even heard of, because I figured, as a write-in, it's gonna be friends and family type stuff or whatever. But no, I'm getting people that I've never heard of, which is really nice. But you get attacked by the politicals. I mean, the people that are just, Republican or Democrat till they die, and that's it. So you get that battle. And when the Niagara Gazette, our local paper, is their mouthpiece, it just keeps on going. But my feedback's been good. I honestly think that for a write-in, we'll do fine. We're going to have a good day Tuesday.
You know, it's really not, it's settled social science that developers have pretty much ruined parts of your city. And yet every candidate, I think, has been supported by developers because their signs are on all the developers' buildings. I don't have to look too hard. This is not something I have to investigate too hard, but I see political signs on the developers' buildings. What do you make of it? Like you said, they have to own it. What the next council that's elected will have the support of all of the three major developers that are dominating your city: NFR, Blue Cardinal Capital, and Montande. All out of towners. You seem to have a problem where you have xenophobia. They're not from
Right.
here. We've heard that. Well, none of those people are from there either. And the candidates have all embraced them. What do you make of that?
Well, yeah, I know because they will in the same. Well, I know they're just looking for money. They're all scared because they got to have mailers. They got to do all this stuff, and it's nonsense because we're showing people that you don't need all that. Get on social media. I'm reaching more people than they've ever reached, and when they're going door to door, we're reaching them. We're doing all that. I've talked to some candidates in the past that were scared. They're not going to have enough money. They're not going to have enough money. I've said you don't need all that money. Just go ahead, use your voice, get out there. Yeah, I mean the fact that you got signs all over NFR properties, right down the street from me where I live, Montande's got a couple. You can go look up the ones that are getting actual money. Blue Cardinal Capital doing barbecues for them, and it just tells me nothing's going to change. I mean, the names change, the things stay the same, and I'll tell you, there was a question the other day in the Gazette about would you consider raising property taxes? And it was for services and all that. And I didn't get a chance to answer because the Gazette won't let me. So my answer is no, of course I'm not. No, we got a garbage fee. That's it. We're tapped out. We have no more. The residents have nothing left. So, they can't answer the question. And it's just on and on and on. And right now, the way I see it is basically it's Bill Carroll from the Republicans. It's Danielle De Palma from the Democrats. They basically should be on the ballot because these guys and gals have no real anything. I mean, I get their mailers and half the time they're just telling me the history of their life. There's nothing.
Should they be on the ballot or should NFR be on the ballot? Because the parties are just as you might as well. Wait. There's a building on the corner of 3rd and Main or whatever that's been condemned that the Republicans have their headquarters in. I argue with you that it's just the candidates. It's the parties.
Yeah, it's the parties. And that's why when I was watching the Democrats getting excited over the fact that building's condemned, don't get excited. You're condemned. You're all condemned. Both of you. In Niagara Falls, at least. I'm not going to talk about anywhere else. The Republicans and Democrats have just, with their corruption, with their, developers and everything else they're doing, they're just as bad as NFR. They've enabled them. They've let it all go. They've enabled the state, whatever you want to say. They are the problem. I've called it this way. They're a disease. We could be the cure, the people.
And John, this is really 100% civics because it's the process. I don't know any more about Democrats or Republicans in Niagara Falls. So it seems all the same. I don't know any more about, rules and regulations because you announced and they just didn't handle it very well. I mean, it's a different city in a bubble that doesn't know why it exists anymore. I would have to say, I really don't know why it exists.
Yeah, right now that's why part of what I've been saying is we got to take the city back. I mean, that kind of thing. And that's what the people I'm talking about. You do hear from people, though. I mean, a lot of them are sick of the parties. I know they are. That's the way it's going. Mm-hmm. They got to reject them. They just have to reject them. That's the only way. Because right now in Niagara Falls, they're in full control. And that's not good. They've been in full control. Let's just go for 30 years, 25 years. And here we are. And no one can tell me that what they've done that's been successful. Stop rewarding failures.
And again, why it's civics. I hear this
Yeah.
criticism as well. I mean, it takes me all week to respond to all the comments I get from one of these shows on a Sunday. Fantastic. People are engaged, as you know, far more than people realize. They're hungry for this information. However, the people that are most involved are vitriol. They are hateful that we even discuss Niagara Falls process or city or bail reform or grass cutting. How dare you talk about grass cutting in Niagara Falls? What are you talking about? I mean, it's vitriol that comes back from those most connected, and it's hunger for more information that comes back from those not connected.
You know what? And this was a great comment by Assemblyman Morinello earlier, which was an awesome conversation. He had talked about people not being held responsible, for their actions. We got to start doing that with politicians too. I don't think we are here in Niagara Falls. We don't hold anyone responsible. We got a council chairman who gave us the garbage fee. We did and all kinds of stuff, and we're not holding them responsible. So then they're allowed to. They'll do whatever they want. Because just like the assemblyman said, it's very similar. They do whatever they want. The only way to hold them responsible is on November 2nd in early voting, and got to sweep them out the door. And here I am. I'm not perfect. I mean, my whole thing is, I've said it a million times. What the hell else do you got? What else do you got to lose? I'm here. I don't have. I'm not. Let me this way. If you put me in a NASCAR, I don't have any stickers. No one. I have no. It's all my money. It's all my stuff. I don't care about NFR or any of them. I could care less about the parties. I think they are so corrupt and bankrupt morally. I can't take it with them no more. I'm dead serious. I've had it, but I'll tell you though, somewhere down the road, this city's going to turn around because the people are going to be the ones that do it. They got to take it back. It's the only way.
I think it is. I'm glad you just said that. I think it is the only way. All of us are smarter than any of us. The small group that clings to this power of no power is really detrimental. I got to tell you, after a year of doing this, they're at ground zero of holding the city back. They don't think so. They're probably fine human beings, good parents, loving spouses. You're killing the city, killing it by stifling dialogue, by stifling dialogue, really. All of us are smarter than any of us.
And hoping that people stay asleep. And I'm hoping that possibly we're waking them up. I mean, there's that whole thing about it. We have a majority of people here that are quiet. I mean, 28,000 people are registered to vote. How many are going to vote? 4,000? I mean, I don't know. We'll see. There's a bunch of people that have been completely and totally, you'd say, disenfranchised, whatever. And I understand, because 30 years of this, the only thing that I don't understand is you got to wake up now, because it's time. We're in a emergency situation. Obviously, we talked about the crime. We've talked about everything. Development. We're poor. We're at 28% poverty. It's time to wake up and do something about it.
And the funny thing, just to keep going, sorry to keep you, but Niagara Falls is unique, one of a kind. You don't have a money problem. You've got more money than you could ever have. And when I ask people, what would you want your city to become? John, they've never been asked that. It's like they're beaten down. How could you possibly ask me that? Because they're so 28% poverty. We can't get the grass cut. The streets aren't plowed. We can't get this. They just feel beaten. They feel almost like hateful that I've asked them and given them any hope whatsoever. You're controlling everything you could have. You could have a shining Shangri-La city. What would you want? And they get mad because they don't think they really can have it. And they can.
Yeah, and we got to be able to get out of the thing where you're not from here. We got to embrace those people that are coming. They're here. And a lot of them want to open up business. They want to do things. And I know it's hard for some to understand that, but that's our only hope. That's really our only hope, because I mean, we got to get out of that, because I really believe that. I mean, I look at Pine Avenue. We've talked about this before on the show. It's a universal place now. And there's so many places I can eat at that are different and everything else. We got to embrace them. We got to stop telling people that are coming from Buffalo or Tonawanda or wherever that might have ideas to get out of here because you're not one of us. And we should want this place to double in population. We should never want it to stay at 48,000 or less. We should always want it to be bigger. You know, the more they keep, here's the thing though, the lower, I mean, I know it. They want the less population, the easier it is, I guess, to stay in City Hall. We need new people. And I'm hoping that I maybe am helping that in this way and see what happens on Tuesday. I do think on Tuesday, Tom, though, I'll surprise some people. I know it's right in. I'm not a fool, but it's worked hard in my time here.
Yeah. Well, if nothing else, I can't thank you enough for pointing out the process, the civic process. If nothing else, you're not doing this for this reason, but for my reasons, you were die through the plumbing of what would happen if I ran for office in Niagara Falls. Well, you're the living embodiment of what happened if you announced a write-in candidacy for Niagara Falls. We don't have to theorize about it. You did it. And we should we should appreciate that. So thank you for showing us what happens when a person just wants to do a write-in in the Falls.
And thank you. And Tom, thank you for letting me speak. I haven't been able to speak. It's the only place I'm able to speak as a candidate. I generally can't speak. So you let me speak. Thank you. The Buffalo News, I want to say thank you to them too, because they actually did a nice job for me. They kept me just in line with the other 6. No words said, just there I am. And it's all the Gazette had to do. And, they're too busy playing games. But I appreciate you having me on as a candidate. Thank you.
Buffalo News is not from your city, though, John. They're garbage. They should, right?
I know.
I mean, yeah, we could go on all day, but, take away that you live there. I don't live there. Many of us, all of us who don't live there, love Niagara Falls. We want you to succeed. What can we do to help you succeed is the constant message every week. Please be receptive to it. Please don't hate us for wanting to help. I know you already don't, but that's the message. Don't turn us away. We want to build the greatest city on earth.
And we have to, and we need you. We need everyone from everywhere. I mean, in every city, every state, every country. We just need help, and that's fine. And there's people that want to help. You're right, and we push them away. We say things like, "You're not from here." That's horrible. But I will tell you, Tom, I appreciate what you more than you realize. It's a great show. The stuff you had on earlier was outstanding about bail reform. I've always wanted to know, and I just found out a ton. Because I followed that one case with Nick D'Angelo, and that said a lot to me, what was said there. It opened my eyes a little bit on maybe something I didn't realize, and thank you. That was really good.
Thanks for saying that. You probably have the ability to watch every Chicago Bears game, but on my cable network today, I have the Bears. So the Bears, San Francisco, do the Bears stand a chance? I would say yes.
Yes, they do. Their coach is not going to be on the sideline, and unfortunately he's got COVID. So I'm not trying to make light of it, but they might be better off having the other guy as head coach. They should be able to be okay. They're getting 4.5 points at home too. I don't think San Francisco's that good. So yeah.
Well, all of us are smarter than any of us, and I don't understand other people, and I don't understand why you like the Bears. So I don't know, but I love your right to like the Bears.
Thank you.
All right, good luck on Tuesday. Please come back afterwards and tell us how everything played out as well, too, because this was an important civics lesson for everybody, and we're glad you shared it with us. Thank you for doing it.
Thank you for having me. Thanks, Tom.
Have a good week, everybody. Thanks. Bye-bye.